Hi. So I saw these videos on YouTube by a woman whose username is Aragon PR, and they are Asperger's diaries. Basically, she's an older woman with Asperger's syndrome, and she has at least 26 diaries talking about different aspects of the disorder and different things in her life involving her Asperger's. And I decided, since I'm a young guy with Asperger's, that I'll make my own Asperger's diaries from my perspective. Now, the first video I'm gonna make is about I think about a lot my childhood and being a little kid with Asperger's. Now, I've had strange fascinations, since I was, a little kid, in different things. Obsessions, obsessive points of interest, big part of Asperger's, and was always so different from all the other, kids, in my grade. I never wanted to do what all the other kids were doing. I never wanted to, play football during recess or anything like that. I wanted to. I was into some of the stuff, that the other kids were into. I was into Goosebumps books. I was into Pokemon. I was into video games. I loved Super Mario. That was a big Asperger's obsession of mine. I also loved Batman a lot when I was a kid. And but I was into it in a different way than all the other kids. I used to love drawing. My obsessions. It almost seemed like every year I had a different obsession. And for example, one year I was obsessed with Batman. It was all I would do is draw Batman characters or pretend to be Batman or stuff like that. So around the end of my elementary school, I started becoming obsessed with more unique things other than that kind of thing. 4th grade, I was really into the rainforest and animals, and I'd watch National Geographic's videos, and I would read books about, about animal behavior and stuff like that, and I was just so different from all the other kids, I always was, but, I think the one year throughout elementary school that stood out the most was the 3rd grade, which was when I grew an obsession with Sesame Street. Now, I'm a big puppeteer. I'm into puppetry a lot. I want to build puppets. I want to perform puppets too, and I'm a big Jim Henson fan. Big fan of the Muppets. And I still do watch Sesame Street, but from an artistic perspective. Not like from a little kid's perspective, like, oh, I'm learning the ABCs, And the 3rd grade is when I started, viewing Sesame Street that way from an artistic perspective. But I didn't understand myself at the time. I was completely mesmerized by the puppets on Sesame Street. And I didn't understand why. I did not understand myself. Kids in school didn't understand me, and I didn't understand myself. I would just, and it wasn't something I'd keep private either. I would draw Sesame Street characters in class, all day in class. I would, and it was all I'd talk about in school, and the kids didn't understand me. The way they saw it, because little kids are generally very naive and view things, very black and white, and the way they viewed it was that I was watching a baby show and that I was retarded, and while I did have a disability, I was anything but, stupid. The way I viewed it was in a very intelligent, artistic way, a very adult way. And that's why people say that, when you have Asperger's, you're always you're always one step forward, but at the same time, you're one step behind. And that really describes my childhood to a T. I was always one step ahead of the kids as far as intelligence goes. But as far as being socially accepted, I was always one step behind. And you know, now whenever I tell people about my love of puppets, they understand, you know, because people are obviously more mature at this age, you know. But another thing about my childhood that made me different from all the other kids was my interest in I developed an interest in girls at a very young age. And that's one thing you'll find about kids with Asperger's is generally they develop an interest in the opposite sex far earlier than other kids would. A normal kid would develop an interest in the opposite sex at the time they hit puberty. So like 12, 11 maybe. But I was interested in girls when I was like 7. And because, I questioned things a lot when I was a kid. And one of the things that just like puzzled me when I was like 7, or even like, I think it was when I was 7, was like, okay, so my classmates, if I like girls, I'm not cool, But then I had some teenage cousins, right? They're probably like 30 now, but they were teenagers at the time. And liking girls makes them cool, to their friends, It's cool for them to like girls, but when they're my age, I didn't understand, the double standard, especially considering the fact that all kids would try, to be, to act so grown up, and they would compete to see, who was the most, grown up out of all of them. But they drew the line at liking girls, and they'd make fun of me for it, and I was like, okay, I'm obviously far more mature and grown up than you guys because I like girls and you guys don't. It must make you guys gay or something like that. And this went on, for the 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and then when the 5th grade came around, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it became cool to like girls, and all the kids that would make fun of me are all of a sudden, liking girls and everything, and it just goes to show how, ahead I was I was so ahead of the pack, but at the same time I was behind. And, it may seem like a contradiction being ahead behind, but I understand what it means perfectly, I always had as a kid, I always had a much easier time talking to adults than kids because it always seemed like adults understood me better than my classmates, 2nd grade, I was already studying different planets and reading about international countries, and I never wanted to do things that my classmates were doing. I was a very unique little kid, and I'm still consider myself very unique and different from most kids my age. I still don't think people really understand me. I still don't think people fully understand why I'm into puppets and why I act the way I act most of the time. But childhood, for when you have Asperger's, is when you really stick out like a sore thumb. And considering kids are generally sometimes feel threatened by things that are different from them, I was obviously a big victim of bullying, and it looks like my time is running out, so that's all I'm going to say. And my next one, I don't know what my next one will be about. I think it'll just be about different obsessions or something, but I don't know. Alright, take it easy.